All right, let's just jump right in. Think about this for a second. What if one person could totally change the way we move, the way we think, even where we live? I mean, with ideas that sound like they're straight out of a sci-fi movie. Well, for Elon Musk, that's not science fiction. That's the to-do list.
So what's on this list? Well, for starters, reusable rockets. Rockets that can actually land themselves and fly again. This was pure Hollywood fantasy until he went and made it an engineering reality. And then, of course, there are the cars. But look, his whole vision wasn't just about making electric cars that are, good for the planet. He wanted to make them faster, sleeker, and honestly more desirable than a Ferrari. Yeah, really.
And if you think that's wild, it gets even stranger. He's actually working on technology to literally connect our brains to computers. The goal? To cure things like paralysis and, down the road, maybe even merge us with AI. Wild stuff.
And the big one, the ultimate goal behind all of this, he wants to build a permanent, self-sustaining human city on another planet. We're talking about making humanity a multi-planetary species. It's just mind-boggling.
So it all leads to this question you hear all the time, right? Is this guy a genius or a complete madman? The truth is, it's probably somewhere in the middle. But one thing is for sure, he just refuses to accept limits. And this is the story of how he got here.
To really get who this guy is, we have to go back, way back, all the way back to Pretoria, South Africa, and to a kid who, from day one, felt like an outsider.
Yeah, from a super early age, Elon was different. He wasn't outside playing sports. He was inside, devouring encyclopedias and sci-fi novels. And this wasn't just idle daydreaming. Get this. By the time he was 12, he had already coded and sold his first video game, called Blaster. And it wasn't really about the money, It was an early sign that he could build something real out of pure imagination. But his childhood was also incredibly tough. He was brutally bullied at school and had a really painful relationship with his father. And those experiences, they lit a fire under him. This relentless drive to be independent and prove everyone wrong.
He even said it himself. I was a very curious kid, but not a popular one. And that right there, that feeling of being an outsider fueled by curiosity, that's a thread you see running through his entire life.
So he set his sights on America. He saw it as the one place on Earth where his crazy ambitious ideas could actually happen. So at 17, he left South Africa for good. And even back then, he'd already zeroed in on the 3 areas he thought would change the world: the internet, renewable energy, and space. That wasn't just a career path. For him, it was a mission.
And when he got to Silicon Valley, he didn't mess around. He immediately started placing the bets that would build his first fortune.
His first big bet was a company called Zip2, which he started with his brother, Kimball. And you have to understand, this was basically Google Maps before Google Maps even existed. I mean, they were so all in, they literally lived in the office and showered at the local YMCA. After 4 really tough years, Compaq swooped in and bought the company. Elon was just 27 years old, and his share was a cool $22 million. But did he stop? No way. He took that money and immediately rolled it into his next big idea, a company called X.com. His vision was to make money move online as easily as sending an email. That company eventually became what we all know as PayPal. And when eBay bought PayPal, Elon walked away with a staggering $180 million. I mean, at that point, he could have just bought an island and retired forever.
But he didn't. Instead, he did something that almost nobody would ever do. He took every last cent of that $180 million and gambled it all on industries that all the experts said were just graveyards for money. Total suicide missions.
And this really shows you the sheer scale of his ambition. On one hand, he starts SpaceX with the insane goal of privatizing space travel, something only governments did. And at the same time, with his other hand, he's pouring his fortune into this tiny, struggling electric car company called Tesla. He was basically declaring war on the entire aerospace and auto industries at once.
And for a while there, it looked like it was all going to end in a spectacular disaster. By 2008, everything was falling apart. The first 3 SpaceX rocket launches, they all failed, exploded. Millions of dollars, years of work, just gone, up in smoke. And at the very same time, Tesla was bleeding cash. It was literally days away from bankruptcy. His entire dream was collapsing.
So it all came down to this one moment. He managed to scrape together just enough cash for one last launch. As he put it, if the 4th launch fails, SpaceX will die. This was it, an all-or-nothing bet for everything he had ever worked for. And then, Against all odds, it worked. The fourth Falcon 1 rocket made it to orbit. It was this absolute miracle moment that saved the company. And you know who noticed? NASA. They came in and awarded SpaceX a $1.6 billion contract. Just like that, the dream was back on.
So, with his company saved from the brink and his empire starting to grow, a whole new part of the story starts to take shape. The Musk paradox. The complicated, often controversial man behind the mission.
See, he didn't just stop with cars and rockets. His focus just kept expanding. Suddenly, there's Tesla Energy for solar roofs and home batteries. There's Neuralink for brain-computer interfaces. The Boring Company digging tunnels to solve traffic. He even co-founded OpenAI to keep AI safe and then, bought Twitter, now X, in a huge battle over free speech. To us, it might look totally chaotic, but in his mind, they're all just different pieces of the same puzzle, trying to secure a better future for humanity.
And this really gets us to the heart of the paradox. On one side, you have this incredible visionary who is single-handedly accelerating our shift to sustainable energy and pushing us to become a space-faring civilization. But on the other side, you've got the controversial figure who can move global markets with a single tweet, who clashes with journalists, and who's known for let's just say, a very intense management style. The genius and the chaos, they seem to be completely inseparable.
But through all the drama, all the new companies, all the controversy, there has always been one singular, unwavering focus. His final frontier, Mars, the red planet.
And that's the real question, isn't it? Why Mars? With all the massive problems we have right here on Earth, why pour all that time, money, and brain power into colonizing another planet?
His answer, though, it really gets to the core of how he sees the world. It's not just about adventure or exploration. For him, making humanity multiplanetary is like buying an insurance policy for consciousness itself. It's about making sure that this unique, fragile spark of human awareness doesn't get wiped out by some disaster here on Earth.
So in the end, whether you see him as a hero or a madman, a savior or just a chaos agent, one thing is absolutely undeniable. Elon Musk doesn't just sit around waiting for the future. He looks at things that seem impossible, things that feel like science fiction, and he just decides to build them. And that's a powerful reminder, right? That the world we live in tomorrow is being built today by the people who dare to challenge what we think is possible. Which leaves us with just one question. What on earth is he going to build next?